Remember those family dinners where your grandma would whip up something magical with just a few ingredients? The 1970s were a time when middle-class families turned simple meals into unforgettable experiences. Get ready to discover the secrets behind those cherished dishes that shaped a generation. Now that you're seated at that Formica table, ready for a blast from the past, let's talk about the unexpected combo that rocked dinner plates across America. What if we told you that in the 70s, grape jelly wasn't just for PB&J sandwiches? This sweet spread had a surprising role in one of the decade's most beloved appetizers. The 1970s were a time of economic ups and downs, but that didn't stop middle-class families from putting delicious meals on the table. As the decade rolled on, there was a gradual recovery from recession, and families found themselves able to enjoy their favorite cuts of meat once again. Pork in particular became more affordable, making its way back onto dinner plates across the country. But here's where things get interesting. The 70s weren't just about returning to old favorites. This decade saw a culinary revolution that turned budget-friendly meals into an art form. Families had to get creative with their cooking, finding new ways to make simple ingredients shine. It was all about making the most of what you had, and boy, did they come up with some doozies. Picture this, you're in a 70s kitchen, and mom's trying to figure out how to jazz up the usual meatball recipe. She's got ground beef, she's got breadcrumbs, but she wants something different. That's when inspiration strikes. She reaches for the grape jelly in the fridge, and voila, a new family favorite is born. Yes, you heard that right. Grape jelly meatballs became an iconic dish of the era, combining sweet and savory flavors in a way that was both surprising and delicious. It might sound weird to our modern palates, but trust us, this dish was a hit at potlucks and family dinners alike. It perfectly captured the 70s spirit of culinary innovation, taking familiar ingredients and combining them in unexpected ways. But the creativity didn't stop there. As families looked to spice up their dinner routines, they started exploring international flavors. Dishes like chicken cacciatore began to gain traction, reflecting a growing interest in diverse culinary traditions. Suddenly, Italian night wasn't just spaghetti and meatballs anymore. Middle-class kitchens were filled with the aromas of herbs, wine, and tomatoes simmering away, transporting families to far-off lands without ever leaving the dinner table. The ability to transform simple ingredients into flavorful meals became a hallmark of 70s cooking. It wasn't just about putting food on the table anymore. It was about creating an experience. Families navigated economic challenges while still enjoying satisfying and creative dining experiences. Every meal was an opportunity to try something new, to experiment with flavors and textures. Those Betty Crocker cookbooks weren't just collecting dust. They were the launchpad for a main course revolution that would change family dinners forever. Remember when eggs stopped being just a breakfast food and became the star of the most fashionable meal of the week? Let's crack open the story of how middle-class kitchens became the birthplace of culinary adventure. While 70s cooks were eager to explore new flavors, they never forgot the classics that warmed hearts and filled bellies. Pot roast, a beloved staple, took center stage during holidays and special occasions. Picture the aroma of beef slowly cooking with onions and peppers, filling the house with the promise of a hearty meal. It wasn't just food, it was a tradition that brought families together around the table. In the Midwest, goulash reigned supreme as the ultimate comfort food. This wasn't your fancy European stew though. American goulash was a delicious mishmash of macaroni, tomato sauce, and ground beef. It was the kind of meal that stuck to your ribs and made you feel like everything was right in the world, even if your bell bottoms were a little too tight. But as the decade rolled on, middle-class taste buds started craving something more. Enter chicken cacciatore, a dish that brought a touch of Italy to American dinner tables. Suddenly, moms across the country were simmering chicken with onions, peppers, and a tangy tomato sauce. It was like taking a mini vacation to the Mediterranean, all from the comfort of your own kitchen. And for those really special occasions, well, that's when things got fancy. Fissant under glace became the pinnacle of 70s elegance. Don't let the name fool you. This wasn't some exotic bird trapped in a terrarium. It was typically pheasant breast cooked with mushrooms and served under a glass dome. Talk about dinner and a show. These adventurous dishes reflected a growing interest in international flavors. Families were no longer content with the same old meals night after night. They wanted to explore, to taste the world without leaving their dining rooms. It was a culinary revolution happening right in middle-class kitchens across America. But here's where things get really interesting. While some dishes were pushing the boundaries of home cooking, others were taking familiar ingredients and transforming them into something extraordinary. And that brings us to the unexpected hero of 70s brunches, Eggs Benedict. Now, you might be thinking, Eggs Benedict? That's way too fancy for a middle-class kitchen. But here's the kicker. This seemingly highbrow dish actually became accessible to home cooks during the 70s. It was the perfect storm of simple ingredients and a touch of culinary flair. Picture this, a toasted English muffin, topped with Canadian bacon, a perfectly poached egg, and a generous dollop of hollandaise sauce. It was like breakfast got dressed up for a night on the town. The real star of the show, that hollandaise sauce. Rich, buttery, and with just a hint of lemon. It turned ordinary eggs into a meal worthy of a magazine cover. While Eggs Benedict was dazzling brunch goers, another culinary trend was quietly taking root. What if we told you that the key to 70s dinner party success was hiding in plain sight, right next to the celery salt? Get ready to discover the unexpected side dish that had everyone asking for seconds. In the 1970s, side dishes weren't just afterthoughts, they were the unsung heroes of the dinner table. These supporting acts often stole the show, turning ordinary meals into memorable feasts. From baked beans to potato pancakes, the variety was as diverse as the families who served them. Let's start with a classic that graced many a barbecue and cookout, baked beans. These weren't just any beans, mind you, they were swimming in a sweet and tangy sauce that perfectly complemented everything from burgers to hot dogs. The best part, they were a cinch to make, often coming straight from a can with a few doctored up additions. It was comfort food at its finest, and families loved how easy it was to whip up a big batch for hungry guests. But when it came to impressing the neighbors, nothing quite matched the appeal of potato pancakes. Also known as latkes, these crispy delights were a trendy side dish that brought a touch of old-world charm to middle-class tables. Imagine the sizzle as grated potatoes hit the hot oil, transforming into golden brown discs of deliciousness. And here's where it gets interesting. While traditionally served savory, many families in the 70s gave them a sweet twist. Drizzled with honey or topped with applesauce, potato pancakes became a unique comfort food that straddled the line between side dish and dessert. As the decade progressed, health-conscious eating started to gain traction. Enter the cucumber sandwich, a light, refreshing option that felt positively posh. Picture thin slices of cool cucumber nestled between buttered bread, or for the really fancy folks, cream cheese on brown bread. It was the kind of food that made you feel like you were at a garden party, even if you were just in your backyard. But wait, there's more. Remember how we mentioned that the most unassuming vegetable in your fridge was once the life of the party? Well, get ready for the mini payoff you've been waiting for. The humble celery, often relegated to the role of garnish or crudité, found new life in the 1970s as the star of a surprisingly popular salad. Celery and olive salad became the unexpected hit of dinner parties across America. This crunchy concoction combined sliced celery and olives, your choice of green or black, with a light vinaigrette. Some adventurous cooks even threw in dried apricots and dates for an extra flavor punch. It was simple, it was different, and it was downright delicious. The satisfying crunch of celery paired with the briny pop of olives created a texture and taste sensation that had people coming back for more. What made this salad so special? Well, it perfectly captured the spirit of 70s cooking, taking basic ingredients and transforming them into something memorable. It was a testament to the era's culinary creativity, proof that with a little imagination, even the most ordinary vegetables could become extraordinary. These side dishes weren't just about filling plates, they were a reflection of the times. Regional influences played a big role, with families adapting recipes based on local ingredients and cultural heritage. A Midwestern table might feature a creamy potato salad, while a Southern spread could include collard greens or black-eyed peas. Each dish told a story, carrying on family traditions and creating new ones. While savory dishes varied by region, desserts had a way of uniting tables across the country. Remember those mysteriously delicious cakes at every family gathering? There's a reason why they tasted so good, and it's not what you might expect. The 1970s were a sweet time for dessert lovers. As families finished their meals, attention turned to the grand finale, a spread of treats that would make any sweet tooth swoon. But here's the kicker. These desserts weren't always entirely homemade. In fact, the secret to many of Grandma's best recipes might just surprise you. Back in the day, desserts became more than just a way to end a meal. They were the stars of the show at potlucks, birthday parties, and holiday gatherings. Picture this, a table laden with colorful Jell-O salads, no-bake cheesecakes, and cakes so moist they'd make your mouth water just looking at them. These weren't just desserts, they were conversation starters, memory makers, and the glue that held social gatherings together. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, didn't everyone bake from scratch back then? Well, here's where things get interesting. The 1970s saw a clever blend of homemade touches and store-bought shortcuts. Busy moms found ways to whip up impressive desserts without spending hours in the kitchen. Their secret weapon, cake mixes and instant puddings. That's right, those boxes of cake mix weren't just sitting in the pantry collecting dust. Clever cooks figured out that with a few tweaks, they could transform these convenience products into desserts that tasted just like grandma used to make. It was all about the doctoring, adding an extra egg here, a splash of vanilla there, maybe some sour cream for extra moisture. The result? Cakes that were quick to make but tasted like they'd taken hours of careful preparation. But it wasn't all about convenience. The 1970s also saw a rise in desserts that celebrated seasonal fruits and simple ingredients. Apple crisps, peach cobblers, and berry pies became staples at family dinners. These desserts weren't just delicious, they were a way to showcase the bounty of each season, connecting families to the rhythms of nature right at their dinner table. And let's not forget about the desserts that became true 70s icons. Remember Watergate cake? This pistachio-flavored treat, often made with, you guessed it, cake mix, and instant pudding, became a sensation. Its name was a cheeky nod to the political scandal of the era, proving that even desserts could have a sense of humor. Then there were the no-bake cheesecakes, a godsend for anyone without a fancy springform pan or the patience for water baths. These creamy delights set up in the fridge, no oven required. They were the perfect way to impress guests without breaking a sweat in the kitchen. But perhaps the most iconic dessert of the 70s was the Jell-O salad. These wiggly, colorful creations were a fixture at potlucks and holiday tables, combining fruit, nuts, and sometimes even vegetables suspended in flavored gelatin. They were a testament to the era's love of fun, playful food. Love them or hate them, these molded masterpieces were conversation starters that brought people together around the table. What made these desserts so special wasn't just their taste, it was the memories they created. Each recipe came with a story, passed down through generations or shared between neighbors. They were more than just food, they were a connection to family history, a way to show love and care through something sweet.